Hare Krishna. My Dandavat pranams to everybody. 1st of March, Friday, 2024. And today we have the great satisfaction of again studying chapter 13 of the Dasmula, the first chapter of Dasmula. So by Bhaktivinoda Thakur's mercy, we're broadcasting from Surabhi Kunj, the place where this chapter was composed and printed and written. All glories to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we'll have a kirtan and then we'll begin. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Radhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava O Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare O Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare O Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. Oh, Nitai He, Nitai He, Nitai He, Nitai He, Nitai He, Nitai He. Nitai He, Nitai He, Jaya Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura, Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He. Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He, Gaura He. Oh, Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe. Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe. Jaya Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe. Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe. Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe. Oh, Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhavaka Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Vrishabhananandini Vajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitilila Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Gaurikishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sabhaboma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Shila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Vedantacharya Ki Jai. Jai Shila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Shila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Siga Hol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gaudamdvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritujit Janadvip Motandvip Rudradvip Atmarka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwarasavar Matmika Shri Braja Mandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Ganga Jamuna Devi Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Gopishra Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Ketra Mandal Ki Jai. Sarva Vigna Vinashakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Akara Matraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai. Shri Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Keshavji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Gauda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagat Vakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gauda Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Priya Surupe Daita Surupe Prema Surupe Sahaja Virupe Nijana Rupe Prabhueka Rupe Tana Rupe Swabila Surupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartino Kalo Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Svakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Dikatamba Sadipita Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantamana Petyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabhavinidustam Sarvabhutam Hridimunimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Apararalakshay Shiptascha Karmaditarangamadye Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanaravindam Bhajami Radham Aravindanetram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Varadram Tato Mamanastikatyana Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayavam Charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada. And unto our dearmost Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gauda Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate, and to our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhabevacha Patitanam Pavanivyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. So, continuing our Jaiva Dharma, and we'll again glorify Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Falshruti. And I think we're up. Huh? Third chapter, yes, third part. So we're up to the last four verses. Jaivedama pateshe shuddha bhakti hoy, Jaivedama napadile kabe bhakti noy. On page 831. One who reads Jivadharma with faithful deliberation will surely attain Shuddha Bhakti, but one who does not read Jivadharma can never attain Bhakti. The platform of Shuddha Bhakti is very, very elevated. Shuddha Bhakti means that I'm no longer concerned for my own material prosperity, my own material um, acquisitions, my own material happiness, etc. It means I'm 100% focused on the Lord. The spiritual, this material world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world, in the sense that in the spiritual world, everyone is only focusing and thinking about Krishna. At every breath they take, how can we satisfy and please Krishna? And the prime example is the gopis, of course. The gopis demonstrate this to the highest degree. In every single instance, the gopis are um, considering how to satisfy Krishna's calm. That is their complete meditation. How can they satisfy the desires of Krishna? Krishna is Aptakam and Aptaram. He has no material desires whatsoever. And yet his potencies, the gopis, these personalities who represent to us in this conditioned world the highest conception, the highest exhibition of love conceivable. None of these gopis are on the human platform whatsoever. They're all manifesting from the personality of Sri Radhika, Radhika Kaivyuha. So the activities of them are all totally extraordinary. And we love to hear their pastimes and how to connect um, in that channel of undivided attention to Krishna's satisfaction. How can we achieve that? We can, by the mercy of those people who are already in that realm. The Sadguru, he's coming from that place. He can teach us, he can school us on how to become qualified, how to take birth as a sadhana siddha gopi in a next birth, and then associate with the Nitya Siddha gopis, and then come into that platform of unadulterated affection and attraction for Krishna. It starts in this world. It starts in this world. So the devotees have to cultivate, not separately particularly, but their natures. If we let our natures come, by nature, we are forgiving. By nature, we are submissive. By nature, these qualities are there. If we allow our nature to manifest in relationship to other Vaishnavas, especially those Sadgurus, then all auspiciousness will be with us. Arupanuga Abhiman Patidrita Hoy, Jaiva Dharma Vimukake Dharma Hinekoi. Faithfully reading Jaiva Dharma will surely strengthen one's Abhiman as a Rupanuga, follower of Sri Rupa Goswami. One who is averse to reading Jaiva Dharma is certainly devoid of religious principles. Yes, if I've never met anybody who's averse to reading Jaiva Dharma. I've met people who are devotees who have been somewhat lazy and haven't dug around in the depths of this treasure. And I guess there are so many people we've met who are just basically averse to reading anything about Krishna conscious literature or anything like that. But those who are specifically disinclined to read Jaiva Dharma, I haven't met anyone of that nature. But the more we discuss these truths, the more these truths will emanate in the atmosphere, and the more individuals will realize the incredible, powerful truths that are contained within this grunta. And it's saying here specifically that one will surely strengthen one's abhiman as a Rupanuga, follower of Rupa Goswami. Every day I'm chanting this beautiful verse. Priya Sarupe, Dayata Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahajabi Rupe. This is glorifying Sri Rupa Goswami completely, that he was most dear to Swarup Damodar, he was most dear to Mahaprabhu, he was the one who was fully competent and capable to spread the mission of Mahaprabhu. And then this other verse that I'm always chanting, this Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavatina, this is also written by Rupa Goswami. This is clarifying the ontological position of Mahaprabhu, where he's come in the seventh Manvantara, once in the day of Lord Brahma, not for a long, long, and specifically what he's come to give. We discussed this yesterday in relationship to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. His mission, what was his mission? Only to give what Mahaprabhu had wanted to give the jivas. And it's up to the jivas to decide whether to take it or not. The jiva's independence is always there. The jiva can never lose his independence at any stage of his existence. It's the very essential nature of the jiva is to be independent. So the jiva has to make his own independent decision to come to this path of Ragmarg, to come to the path of Rupa Goswami. But certainly by hearing these truths, this is going to encourage us in this path. Yavat jivane jai pade jaiva dharma, bhaktiman se jana brita jnana karma. One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma 3 times faithfully in 3 verses. One who faithfully reads Jaiva Dharma throughout his entire life will be endowed with bhakti and will surely realize the futility of gyan and karma. Because unless we're in the path of bhakti, then gyan and karma seem very attractive. If we haven't discovered the bliss of devotion, then the heart becomes restless to make that inquiry, and we can go into the path of gyan. We can think that if I study many scriptures, then my heart, that hole in the heart will be filled by reading more scriptures. But it doesn't work that way. Like the materialist, he thinks that his satisfaction will come from material assets, but he's never satisfied, ever. Have we ever known a really wealthy person who stops making money deliberately? They don't have them. They just keep on going and going and going and going till their last breath. They're addicted, like the description of a Vaishya. His addiction to making money is extraordinary. They just never stop. So it's like a fire that can't be satisfied. And Gyan is the same like that. You can just keep going and going, so many books and so on. But bhakti, you can fill that hole in the heart and become fully satisfied, because love is the only principle that we are seeking in this world. Where is that love? And anything material is not going to satisfy us. It has to be on the spiritual platform. And then it will begin to satisfy the self. Like when we chant, for example, and we know that we're connecting with transcendence. If we're chanting even once in our lives, Shuddhanam. Shuddhanam is a very high stage. Normally it's Nam Aparad that we chant. Sometimes Nam Abbas, which is also very high. But Shuddhanam is a very, very exalted state of consciousness to be chanting with Shuddhanam. Shuddhanam is really special. And you know when that stage comes. It's like the sun comes out and everything is completely, uh, all the energy is manifesting from that transcendental world. This is Shuddhanam, very pure. We might have a drop of that just to give us an idea of the possibility of the reality of Shuddhanam. We have to pray for that. We have to pray for Shuddhanam to manifest in our hearts. If you don't pray for it, it won't come. Krishna Ramala Seva Labi Senara Seva Sukhe Magnaraha Sada Krishna Para. Such a man, being fully devoted to Sri Sri Radha Krishna Yugal Kishore and having attained their Amal Prem Seva, remains forever merged in the bliss of such immaculate loving service. Yes, forever merged in the bliss of this immaculate loving service. Eternally. We've reached our eternal conclusion, our eternal Dharma. So this is our goal. This is why we're reading Jaiva Dharma. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. And we just finished page 285, and we were hearing about the Sampradayas. And the last question, Brajanath says, are the names of all the Acharyas in the Sampradayas available in order of succession? It's very important. We have to have confirmation of the authenticity of all these truths. If he's just saying, oh yes, Sampradaya, but there's no concise account of all the people in the Sampradaya, who are they all? If we just say casually, oh, the Sampradaya, but who are the living entities that make up the Sampradayas? We have to have that authenticity so that we'll have faith. It's like so many times in the Bhagavatam, there's these chapters of long dynasties. This one was born from this and had three sons and these sons and these sons, and goes on and on and on. And personally, I find it nectar to hear all that. It gives great confidence in the fidelity of what Shukadev Goswami is presenting. There's nothing like left to change. Every single person in the line of kings is mentioned, just like the Parampara, coming from Swayambhuva from his son Likshvaku, and all the way down through the Sun dynasty and through the Moon dynasties. And all these persons, who are they? We can't just say, oh, yes, they're all in line, but actually who they are. Shukadev Goswami gives it person by person and how many children each had. I mean, it's so comforting. It's so warm to the heart to have this clear understanding of our connection. There's no gaps. There's no gaps at all. So like this, he's asking, what are the names in the Sampradaya? And then Babaji answers, only the names of those most prominent acharyas who have appeared from time to time are mentioned. So if you wanted all the names, you would find them. They're all there in the Shastra, but these are just some of the names. For brevity's sake, for briefness, we'll just chant these. Brajanath, I would like to hear the Guru Parampara of the Brahma Sampradaya. This is our Sampradaya. So we know that Mahaprabhu, he chose this Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya because it was the most prominent at the time. And Mahaprabhu had his mission to fulfill, and he wanted the most prominent Sampradaya in order to do that. So this Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, this is the most prominent. So he chose that Sampradaya. Listen, Babaji says, Paravayomeshwaras yaschik chisyo Brahma Jagat Pati, tasya shishyo Narado Bud Vyasas tasyapa shishyatam. Brahma, the master of the universe, is the disciple of Parameshwara Sri Narayan, and Naraji became the disciple of Brahma. Vyasadeva became the disciple of Naraji. Shuko Vyasa Yasa sorry, my Sanskrit isn't. Vyasyasya Shishyatvam Prapto Jnana Varod Hanat. Vasal Lavdo Krishna Diksho Madhavacharyo Mahayasha. Sri Shukadev became the disciple of Sri Vyasadeva in order to check the spread of impersonal Gyan. The celebrated Madhavacharya, who received Krishna Diksha from Sri Vyasadeva, also received Krishna Diksha from Sri Vyasadeva. Narahari became the twice-born Shishya of Madhavacharya. Tasya Shishyo Naras Chak Chishyo Madhavo Dvija Akshobhyas Tasyo Shishyo Bhuttak Chisyo Jaya Tirtaka. Madhava Dvija became the disciple of Narahari. Akshobhya was Madhava Dvija's disciple and accepted Jaitirtha as his disciple. Tasya Shishyo Jnanasindhus Tasya Shishyo Mahanidhi Vidyanadis Tasya Shishyo Rajendras Tasyo Sevakaha. Jnanasindhu became the disciple of Jayatirtha. Mahanidhi became Janasindhu's disciple and accepted Vidyanidhi as his disciple, and Rajendra became the disciple of Vidyanidhi. Jaiva Dharma Munistasya Shishyo Yad Guna Madhyata Srimad Vishnupuri Yastu Bhakti Ratnavali Kriti. Jaiva Dharma Muni became the disciple of Rajendra, and one of his followers named Sri Vishnu Puri, who composed Bhakti Ratnavali, was a prominent acharya. Jaya Dharmasya Shishyo Budbrahmanyo Purushottamaha Vyastirtas Tasya Shishyo Yaschakre Vishnu Samhitam. Jayadharma's disciple was Brahmanya Purushottam, who in turn accepted Vyasatirtha, the author of Vishnu Samhita, as his disciple. Srimad Lakshmi Patistasya Shishyo Bhakti Rasoraya Tasya Shishyo Madhavendro Yad Dharmo Yam Pravartitaha. Sri Lakshmipati became the disciple of Vyasatirtha and Madhavendra Puri, who was the epitome of Bhakti Ras, who was the epitome of Bhakti Ras, and who propagated Bhakti Dharma, was the disciple of Lakshmipati. Brajanath. In the first shloka of Das Mula, the Vedas are accepted as the sole evidence, Praman. Praman, whereas the other Pramans, such as Pratyaksha, direct perception, are accepted as evidence only when they follow the Vedas. However, philosophies such as Nyaya and Sankhya have accepted further types of evidence. So now we're discussing the Praman. What is the evidence? This is necessary in this chapter to establish the evidence because we're going to build on this evidence the other 9 Prameyas. So it's very important points that are coming up, and Brajanath is very astute scholar, as it's already been described. So he has to question this authenticity again, the nature of this praman. There are these pramans like pratyaksha, which are actually in the material realm. They're not transcendental. It's like what you see, if you accept that as evidence, that is not sufficient to be shabda Brahm. That's not sufficient to be accepted as transcendental. It's just by our material perception. So this is what's going to be explained. Whereas the other pramans, such as pratyaksha, direct perception, are accepted as evidence only when they follow the Vedas. So Brajanath is saying like this. However, philosophies such as Nyaya and Sankhya have accepted further types of evidence. Well-versed readers of the Puranas have accepted 8 types of praman. Pratyaksha, direct perception. Anuman, inference based on generalized experience. These meanings are going to be opened out in the next couple of paragraphs. They'll be more unpacked to some degree. And if you have questions about them, you can ask. It's very simple. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur doesn't linger in this area of these material um, ways of acquiring knowledge because it's only nimitic. It's not going to the transcendental. So he's just coming through it. But Brajanath is the one who's speaking now, not Babaji. Huh?
Yes.
Pratyaksha, direct perception. Anuman, inference based on generalized experience. Upaman, analogy. Shabda, revealed knowledge. Atihya, traditional instruction. Arthapati, inference from circumstances. Sambhav, speculation. And anupalabdhi, understanding something by its non-perception. If the sun isn't here, then we can understand something of when the sun is there. If it's nighttime and there's no, etc. You can understand it's quite simple. Why are there so many opinions regarding Praman? And if direct perception and inference based on experience are not counted among the perfect Pramans, how is it possible to get real understanding? Kindly enlighten me. Rajanath is thinking that direct perception must be there. And to infer something uh, based on experience, this is what we are like in the conditioned state, because this happened at a certain time, or we experience something like this, we're expecting it to happen again. But that may not be the situation. That may not be the truth. It's not giving you the actual transcendental reality. It's only giving you a little bit of it. So this is all part of the um, foundation of the Praman, which is what we're discussing. Babaji, Pratyaksha and other types of evidence depend on the senses. But since the senses of the conditioned jiva are always subject to Brahm, illusion, pramad, error, vipralipsa, cheating, and karanapatava, imperfection of the senses, how can knowledge acquired through the senses be factual and faultless? We know it's described in Srimad Bhagavatam in the third canto, 12th chapter, verse 2. 12th chapter, verse 2 of the third canto. It's described these 5 nascent engagements that Lord Brahma, he places as a covering over the jiva at the time of our conception in this world. One of them is fear of death. Another is imperfect senses, which is described here. Another is the nature to consider that I am the owner of various acquisitions in this world, false ownership. Another is anger after frustration. It's already placed like a sanskar across the jiva's consciousness by Lord Brahma. And another one is not understanding that this world is illusory. We take this world as a reality. So I'm bewildered in this world. So these 5 nascent engagements is what they're called, are very similar to these 4 that I've been described here. They're like a covering over the jiva. And these are going to be unpacked in the next paragraph. So this Brahm illusion, pramad error, vipralipsa cheating, and karanapatava, imperfection of the senses. How can knowledge acquired through the senses be factual and faultless? How can it be true if the senses have these faults in them? The fully independent possessor of all potencies, Sri Bhagavan himself, personally manifested as perfect Vedic knowledge within the, is that right? Personally manifested as perfect Vedic knowledge within the pure hearts of great Maharishis and saintly acharyas who were situated in full samadhi. I didn't read that right. The fully independent possessor of all potency, Sri Bhagavan himself, personally manifested as perfect Vedic knowledge within, there should have been a comma there, within the pure hearts of great Maharishis and saintly acharyas who were situated in full samadhi. So that perfect knowledge is coming from the Lord. It's not coming from a conditioned place. It's directly transcendental because it's coming from Krishna. Directly, this knowledge is being planted within the heart. Therefore, the Vedas, which are the embodiment of Swata Siddha Gyan, self-manifest pure knowledge, this self-manifest pure knowledge, this knowledge is residing in the heart. It's already there, but it needs to be opened out. It's there in potential, are always faultless and fully dependable as evidence. So these Vedic scriptures coming from the hearts of the self-realized souls who have received that realization from direct connection with the Supreme Lord, what they say is perfect. What they say is praman. What the acharyas say is praman because they are connected to transcendence. We talk about all these different literatures like the Srimad Bhagavatam, like Bhagavad Gita, like this Jaiva Dharma. It's described as apurushaya. Purush means man, and aparush means not written by man. How can you have such a transcendental granta, book, treatise, literature that has all transcendental truths in it if it's written by man? How's it possible? We have so many philosophers in the world, right? But they're not connecting with transcendence. All these different philosophers. Who? Carl Jung, tell me some. And yes, tell me. We know there's so many, but tell me, you got them on the tip of your tongue. Who? David Hume. Okay. And what is his name? Sophocles and Aristotle, Plato. Yes, right back into history. We have so many philosophers, but unless they've connected with someone who is already in transcendental knowledge, their knowledge is only going to be based on their material perceptions. It's not going to be based on transcendence. So therefore, it's ultimately completely without value for the aspiring transcendentalist. It has no value whatsoever.
And this is called a Shruti, you say?
Yes, we'll discuss that.
Okay.
Pure knowledge are always faultless and fully dependable as evidence. The acharyas' wisdom from their core of their realized hearts, like we quote, for example, many times from Srila Bhakti Rakshak Srila Maharaj. We'll quote from Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We'll quote from my Gurudev. We'll quote from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We'll quote from all these acharyas as they are giving us the praman. Their words are as praman because we understand their hearts have been infused with this transcendental current from the Lord through their connection in bhakti to the Lord. Brajanath, please help me to understand clearly each of the terms Brahm, Pramad, Vipralipsa, and Karnapatava. So, just for your information, we should mark this somewhere in our notebook that these 4 defects of man are going to be described in the 13th chapter and the place where they are. It's very helpful to reference them. I've often described that in the back of my book, for example, I have many notes on the different pages to where these different um, truths are particularly described. It's very helpful when you yourselves are teaching Jaiva Dharma. And we hope that everyone will teach Jaiva Dharma in the world, because that's how we will learn Jaiva Dharma ourselves. So, Babaji, Brahm is illusion, is the Bada Jiva's false impression of reality resulting from faulty knowledge gathered through imperfect senses. For example, in the desert, the rays of the sun sometimes produce a mirage, which creates the impression of water. So you're seeing water in the desert, but it's not a truth, it's an illusion. So similarly, we can perceive something, but it's not actually the truth. You might look at a mountain and you might think that the cloud is covering a mountain, but actually there's a fire on the mountain. The smoke is causing the to look like a cloud. So you can't make the assessment by just direct experience. Understand? This is what it's saying. We're establishing what is praman here. It's very important to understand what is praman, and then we can have full faith in the Shastra when we understand what is praman deeply, where the praman is coming from. This fault of making errors and mistakes is called pramad, since the material intelligence of the Bada Jiva is by nature limited. Mistakes are inevitable, inevitably present in whatever siddhanta his limited intelligence discerns in relation to the unlimited paratattva. So, whatever we discern, we can be walking in the right direction if we've been influenced by Shabda Brahman. But if we're not realized in that, we're still going to be subject to the defects. But if we're walking in the right direction, then we can be inspired and infused by that pure knowledge. Though that can come down through Guru. Guru will inspire our hearts with that pure clarity of vision. You understand? He will give us that vision if we are sincerely wanting that, if that is our desire. Vipralipsa is the cheating propensity. This is manifest when one whose intelligence is limited by time and space is suspicious and reluctant to believe in the activities and authority of Ishvara, who is far beyond time and space, because we don't believe fully and we haven't seen him and we haven't connected with him, then we might tend to speculate and make all kinds of um, adjustments in our minds to presume something, but it may not be a fact. Again, this is why we must depend on the amnaya, on the praman that is given in the pure shastras. We must depend on this. Our senses are imperfect and ineffective and this is known as Karanapatava. Because of this, we cannot avoid making mistakes in everyday circumstances. For example, when we see an object suddenly, we may mistake it for something else and draw faulty conclusions. Okay? It's very clear. It's clear? Brajanath, do pratyaksha and other pramans have no value at all as evidence? That means, does seeing something, experiencing something, does that have no evidence? Does that have no substance in my concluding a topic? Babaji, this means
What means?
what means do we have to gain knowledge of this material sphere except through direct perception and other pramans, as he's mentioned? Nevertheless, they can never give knowledge about the spiritual world, Chit Jagat, for they cannot enter into it. Doesn't matter how brilliant you are in any form, you can't crack into that transcendental realm by your own material prowess ever and ever. You may achieve liberation from matter in the sense that you're not suffering anymore, and you may manifest into, you may go into that Brahman place, but nevertheless, there's no sambandha. You haven't actually woke up the reality of transcendence. It's just like a halfway house, so to speak. It's not even a halfway house. You actually cook the
Mm,
soul. You can't move from there.
mm,
What means do we have to gain knowledge of this material sphere except through direct perception and other pramans? He's agreeing with Brajanath. Nonetheless, they can never give knowledge about the spiritual world, Chit Jagat, for they cannot enter into it. That is why the Vedas are certainly the one and only praman for gaining knowledge about the Chit Jagat. The evidence gained from pratyaksha and other pramans is only worth considering when it follows the guidance of the self-evident Vedic knowledge. If it's in line with the Vedic knowledge, then it can be useful. Otherwise, its evidence can be discarded. That is why the self-evident Vedas are the only evidence. Self-evident Vedas are the only evidence. If we can really take this conclusion into our hearts, it'll save us a lot of study of various material aspects. Really, it will. If we just begin to accept totally what Shastra is saying, that means not accepting what I think about something or I have inferred or speculated about something, but everything should be very much supported by the evidence from Shastra. If ever you listen to Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada's recordings, he's just quoting again and again and again and again and again, all the way through. Everything he is quoting, he's fully supporting everything he's saying. This is Acharya. My Gurudev was the same, constantly just quoting, quoting, quoting Shastra. We also try to quote as much Shastra as possible. This is the purpose to quoting Shastra, to support our conclusions. Um, that is why the self-evident Vedas are the only evidence. Pratyaksha and other pramans can also be accepted as evidence, but only if they are in pursuance of the Vedas. Brajanath, are literatures such as the Gita and the Bhagavatam not counted as pramans? Babaji, the Bhagavad Gita is called an Upanishad, Gita Upanishad, because it is the Vani instruction of Bhagavan. Hence, the Gita is Veda. Similarly, Dashmula Tattva is also Bhagavat Vani, because it is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions. So it is also Veda. You see, this Dasmula is the distillation of all of Mahaprabhu's instructions. This is why this Dasmula is so ecstatic. It's the complete um, essence of Mahaprabhu's instructions. Shrimad Bhagavatam is the crest jewel of all the Pramans because it is the compilation of the essence of the meaning of the Vedas. Sri Vyasadeva, it's described, it's like the this Amala Purana, the cream of all the Puranas, is in the embodiment, or the cream of Vedanta Sutra is in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The very essence of all that Vyasadeva compiled is held within the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because what is the Bhakti Sar of the Bhagavatam? Is the 10th canto, is the Leela, the pastimes of the Lord. That is why that if the 10th canto wasn't there, then it wouldn't have that same potency at all. But because the Leela is described, the beautiful form of the Lord is described, then it is that Amala Purana because of this reason. The instructions of different Shastras are authoritative evidence only as long as they follow the Vedic knowledge. There are three types of Tantra Shastras: Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. Of these, the Pancharatra and so on are in the Sattvika group, and they are accepted as evidence because they expand the confidential meaning of the Veda. So the Pancharatra, this is in the Sattvic group. Brajanath, there are many books in the Vedic line. Which of these may be accepted as evidence and which may not? So now we're having a very in-depth examination of which Shastras are can we accept as fully supportive of the Vedic, and which other ones are like secondary. Babaji, in the course of time, unscrupulous, untruthful personalities have interpolated. That means they have they have put their own desires amongst the language there, interpolated. They have put their own ideas to fulfill their own ends, have interpolated many chapters, mandalas, sections, and divisions, and mantras into the Vedas in order to fulfill various self interests. These parts that are added at a later time are called prakshipta, interpolated parts. It is not that we should accept any and every Vedic text as reliable evidence. Those Vedic granthas, sacred books, that the acharyas in the Sat Sampradayas, the five Sampradayas, the perfect Sampradayas, have accepted as evidence are definitely Veda and are authoritative evidence. But we should reject literature or parts of literature that they have not recognized. If they don't recognize it, if the Sampradayas don't recognize a certain Shastra, then we also should not give it credence. We should not accept it. Don't go hunting for some book that isn't properly connected in our Sampradaya, that is supported. We have our acharyas in our mission of Mahaprabhu. If some particular Shastra is not supported by Rupa Goswami, for example, if it's not supported by by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and in recent times, if it's not supported by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then we shouldn't put a lot of trust in that.
Can you give example what Shastra that could be?
He's going to.
Oh, okay.
Many times I have questions also, and then the next paragraph is answered. Brajanath, which Vedic granthas have the acharyas of the Sat Sampradayas accepted? Right? This is your answer. Babaji, Isha, Kena, Katha, Prasna, Mundaka, Mandukya, Taittreya, Aitreya, Chandogya, Brihat Aranyaka, Svetasvatara. These 11 Sattvika Upanishads are accepted, and so are Gopal Upanishad, the Shringa Tapani, and some other Tapanis that are helpful in worship. The Acharyas have also accepted Brahmanas and Mandalas as Vedic literatures, as long as they expand the Vedas following the guidance of the Rig, Sama, Yajna, and Atharva. So brahmanas means those elevated souls who are practicing very carefully the Brahminical path, what they support and what they have said in their writings, the different rishis, the different sadhus in history, etc. Then, like we have Valmiki, for example, who has given us the Ramayana. We have Tulsidas, he's given us the Ramcharit Manas, these personalities. These are great brahmanas, and they can be supported, they can be given credence in their writings. We receive all the Vedic literatures from the acharyas in the Sat Sampradayas, so we can accept them as evidence from a bona fide source. We have to be very careful, especially today. Especially today, there are so many fake everything, fake gurus, fake sadhus. You know, it's the age of fakery, charlatans. We must be very cautious, and this is giving us a very clear foundation, a very clear picture.
But why they are then accepted the Shastras?
Huh?
Why they are accepted the Shastra?
Who's accepting them as Shastra? These are accepted as Shastra. These are accepted because they're bona fide. He's explaining what is bona fide Shastra and what is not bona fide Shastra. We don't accept unbona fide Shastra.
No, I'm asking why they then put Shastra at all, non-bona fide Shastra.
It doesn't exist.
Bona fide and non-bona fide, you said, right?
Well, they wouldn't. If something, for example, he will give this example here, like in the Gaga Samhita, for example, is not considered a sattvic um, shastra. It'll be described. Just wait a minute. Your question will be described here. Brajanath, is there any evidence in the Veda to show that logic cannot enter into transcendental subject matter? It's a good question. Babaji, there are many famous statements in the Vedas, such as Nyaisha Tarkena Matir Apanyaya. O Nachiketa, whatever intelligence you have gained regarding Atma Tattva should not be destroyed by logic, Tarka. Katha Upanishad 129, and the statements from Vedanta Sutra, such as Tarka Pratishtanat, arguments based on logic, have no foundation and cannot be used to establish any conclusions about the conscious reality because it because a fact that someone establishes by logic and argument today can be refuted tomorrow by someone who is more intelligent and qualified. Therefore, the process of argumentation is said to be unfounded and baseless. The question was about logic and argument. And he's saying if you accept one thing today, another person later on will defeat that. So logic and argument is not the path that we are traveling. Brahma Sutra 2.1.11. Furthermore, it is stated, Achintya kalo ye bhava na tama tarekena yojyate prakriti bhya param yakcha tad achintyasya lakshanam. This is from the Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva 5.12. All transcendental tattvas are beyond material nature and are therefore inconceivable. We can't understand them with logic or rationality. Dry arguments are within the jurisdiction of material nature. They can only be applied in mundane subject matters. They cannot even come close to transcendental tattvas. What to speak of grasping them? As far as inconceivable conceptions are concerned, the application of dry arguments is undesirable and useless. This is to discourage those speculators who want to propagate their own brand of philosophy and without the substance of the Vedic support. just to create some um, platform for their own verbosity or their own glory in some way or other. This is what's prompting all these apasiddhantas. They all come from the false ego, wanting to be more prominent. It's actually coming from an envious place. It's not, the person isn't sufficiently humble to accept the reality of the transcendental chain of displic succession, which is giving us this knowledge. Humility must be there. This shloka of the Mahabharata establishes the limits of knowledge, and Srila Rupa Goswami, the Acharya of Bhakti Marg, has therefore written in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Eastern Division 1132, Swalpapi ruchir eva syat bhakti tattva vabodhika yuktis tu kevala naiva yad asya apratishtata. One can comprehend bhakti tattva when one has gained even a little taste for shastras that establish bhakti tattva, such as Srimad Bhagavatam. However, one cannot understand this bhakti tattva by dry logic alone, because logic has no basis and there is no end to arguments. So always try to substantiate any um, understanding we may have from Shastra directly itself. Try to, if you're having some experience in the spiritual realm, then you must have a Shastric support for that. Otherwise, it'll just be a speculative state of mind. It's very important indeed to appreciate the depth of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving here. He's telling us conclusive. This comes right on the back of our discussion about yesterday with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. This is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was establishing. He was establishing the Shastric authority in all his teachings and dealings, and encouraging us or his disciples to do the same. Nothing genuine can be ascertained by logic and argument, as this ancient statement proves. Yatneno padito pi artha kushalai anumanatribi abhiyuktananer anyai anyataivo padyate. Any logician can clearly establish any subject matter using arguments, but someone who is more expert in argument can easily refute him. You use logic to establish one Siddhanta today, but a more intelligent and qualified logician will be able to refute it tomorrow. So why should you rely on logic? Saying again and again, because Brajanath, of course, is a logician. But many of us are logicians. We need to have this fault purified. Brajanath, Babaji, I have fully understand that the Veda, which is to say knowledge that is swata siddha, self-evident, is praman. Some logicians argue against the Vedas, but their efforts are fruitless. Now please be merciful and explain the second shlok of Dasmul Tattva. So this swata siddha, this self-evident means you will get a direct. Lord Brahma says, Raja Vidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Itamutamam Pratyakshavagam. This Pratyakshavagama means by direct perception, you will perceive the splendor of this bhakti, by direct perception. So it seems like everyone's packing up here, so I'll follow suit. And also, we'll stop here. And we'll read the second Dasmula tomorrow. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Try to appreciate the purport of what we studied and study it yourselves individually and realize the paramount importance of knowing what is bona fide and what is not bona fide praman. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Gauda Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Nitai Gora Haribol, 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 Gora Haribol, Nitai Gora Haribol, 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 Haribol. Gora Premanandi, Hari Haribol, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Vanshakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavnevyo Vaishnavevyo.